Is it possible to charm a god like that? It's not just an Oba, it's a god or Nirisha. What kind of charm can I have? The Oni appreciated my talent and the fact that I'm a cultural activist. You understand? And he's somebody that we all hold in high esteem. We are talking about the Onirisha. This is not an ordinary human being. This cannot work on him, and it had nothing to do with him. This was just my own props. I think in particular the Olokun people, when I came out to greet them, everybody greeted her Kabiyesi Olori. And then the mamas, they called me Olori. Then Baba appointed, I think, Auntie Modele Sharafa to be in care of the Oloris at that time in Ife. Boldly in the public, one of the mamas told her, I said, no, ARALOLA, because I'd been taking care of them before Auntie came, and they understood me better, and I was always getting what they wanted for them from the palace. And they were like, you could actually pick the sound and talk to it, and something will happen there. Like, you don't know what you have, you don't know your power. You know, you need to watch it. You can translate it into many things, but the bottom line is that be proud of who you are. We are powerful. We are extremely powerful people. We are the most powerful force in the world.
Let's talk about the other side of Ara. Let's go back quickly. That was 2 years ago, 3, when the new Ooni of Ife became Ooni. That is the Ooni Adeyeye Ogunwusi Babatunde Enitan Ade Ogunwusi Ojaja 2. Suddenly you were in the palace, and initially a lot of people started saying, oh, maybe Ooni has an interest in Ara because of her beauty, because of her charisma. Then somebody said, oh, she's a cultural ambassador. And eventually, I think I watched you on TVC, Your View. You came to debunk a lot of stories. Some people say you were dating Ooni, that Ooni wanted to marry you, that it was because of you that the former Olori went away, the Olori from Edo State, you know, a lot of stories and all that. Is it true that you were dating Ooni Ojaja at that time? Because the story was so strong.
I wasn't dating him. I was very close to him, extremely close to him. There's no way I'll be his cultural ambassador and not be close to him. A lot of people insinuated that. I think apart from, maybe there was one day I knelt in front of him and he just put his hand on my shoulder and everybody was there. That's the closest I've been to Kabiyesi. Not even a handshake. Not even getting to sit beside him. You know? And there may have been intentions in different quarters, but I never dated him.
People say you charmed him with your looks.
Well,
that's what people are saying. Some people that we are close to, and at that time we couldn't even get across to you. Most of the time when we call you, is either your PAP kit or you are busy in the palace. People say you charmed Ooni Adeyeye Ogunwusi.
Is it possible to charm a god like that? It's not just an Oba, it's a god or Nirisha. What kind of charm can I have?
Charm of beauty.
Well, I'm not the most, and I wasn't the most beautiful woman in the palace at the time. The Olori was even more beautiful. So there's no way I would have charmed him. They only appreciated my talent and the fact that I'm a cultural activist. You understand? And he's somebody that we all hold in high esteem. So there was no personal. Well, maybe if I didn't have a child, there would have been. Because you only cannot be with a woman who has a child. You cannot marry somebody who has had a child. Maybe if there was no child, maybe we will not be saying this. Maybe it could have happened. But there was nothing like that between us.
They got to a stage that they even said that you have one Irukure, the one you came with from your car today, a white Irukure like that. Sorry, I think, yeah, they said you use, yeah, sorry, yeah, God bless you, man. They said that was what you are using to control him, that it was one that gave you, that is part of what make you a kind of, that you are one of the Oloris now, that you have this, that is because of that I gave you this. How true is it, ma'am? Please.
Thank you so much. I got this in Osogbo. The woman that sold it to me is still alive today.
Are you sure? I can't believe.
Yes.
You look more like Ife.
I got this in Osogbo. I produced a movie titled Oshofunke in 2013, featuring Baba Wande, Femi Jacobs, Uncle Yemi Shodimu, myself, Olamide Bado, a lot of people, Lori Simon, Muyiwa Londona, and Golugo, Dejotu Fulu, Antikwejo Gumola, a lot of people in the movie. So it was part of the props that we bought for the movie. This was in 2013. I think Ooni of Ife ascended the throne of his. Thank you. Thank you. So it had nothing. And then when I dress up sometimes, I hold it. Sometimes I even take it on stage as part of our props. You know, I think it's something like Orishabumi would hold. I think it's, you know, it's like, and then it has like Ade on it. So it has, Ooni didn't give me anything. He didn't give me, I bought this.
Now, what people are saying that this is what you are using to control him in the palace.
Is it possible?
To manipulate and all that, to get him emotional.
We are talking about the Onirisha. This is not an ordinary human being. This cannot work on him, and it had nothing to do with him. This was just my own props.
In a nutshell, you are trying to debunk it that you didn't date Oni Adeye Ogunwusi, and there was nothing between you and the young Kabiyesi.
I never dated him. Never. I never dated him.
Why did you leave the palace? Because we learned that was what brought rumor between you and the queen. Honestly, because I know you, I'm sorry that I'm bringing it to your notice. You have to clear it because a lot of people, your fans in America, in London, in Australia, in Germany, everywhere that love you. This is what they want to hear from you. A lot of people believe that that was what brought you, brought rancor between you and Olori, the other Olori, that's Olori Wuraola. Yes, they said there was a rancor that eventually you have to leave the palace because of your principles and all. There are a lot of stories that you have not been able to successfully debunk it today. And I want you to please, with total honor, kindly debunk it.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Put light to it.
I hold you in very high esteem.
Thank you, ma. God bless.
Amen. Yes, it was a fact that Olori Wuraola, Olori Zainab Otiti and I had issues when I was in the palace. And she didn't have issues with me alone, but she had issues with me. At the time, I was the one handling the widows for Kabiyesi. People called their attention to the fact that I was dating the Kabiyesi and that I was being addressed as Olori in the palace. Yes, I was being addressed as Olori, truly. The old women that I was taking care of. And then when we did the Ile-Ife cultural album, we brought all the people, the different Orisha heads on the album. The deities, Olokun, Oshun, Gbogbo, they came. So I think in particular the Olokun people, when I came out to greet them, everybody greeted her, Kabiyesi, Olori. And then the mamas, they called me Olori. Then Baba appointed, I think, Auntie Modele Sharafa to be in care of the Oloris at that time in Ife. Boldly in the public, one of the mamas stood, I said, no, ARALOLA. Because I'd been taking care of them before Auntie came. And they understood me better, and I was always getting what they wanted for them from the palace. And we were doing prayers all over at that time. I think every Wednesday we used to have vigils and stuff like that, and the mamas, all of them. So people went to tell the Olori that she has taken over. So when she came, she now said to me, I need you to hands off the widows project. I will handle it from now. And I said, okay, no problem. She said, why are you carrying yourself like the queen? They're calling you Olori. And I said, I'm not the queen. I have nothing to do outside of my work. So that day I said, okay, no problem. So I went back to KBC. I said, sir, Olori said I should answer off the project. And I said, oh, okay, don't worry, I'll talk to her. So he left. Afterwards, I was told to continue. I don't know what they discussed. I was told to continue. Then, one day, we had a long discussion. That's Olori and I. Very personal for 4 hours. During that discussion, I was able to clear the air. I said, I have never dated and will not date His Imperial Majesty. And woman to woman, I told her a lot of things. And she shared a lot of personal things with me. A lot. So I was able to advise her. And I told her what to do. But after that time, we never saw. I left Ife. I actually resigned.
Resigned?
Yes, I resigned
as a result of her inferiority complex and her fears for your position. You just felt that diplomatically maybe you should just let what should be.
Diplomatically. I felt that it was time to leave. Because there's so many things I don't want to say on here. With due respect to His Imperial Majesty and the throne of Ile-Ife. So I left. I wasn't even supposed to resign. It was one mistake I made. Because Obaron Minshemunimo resign. I should have just left, but Majamosa Mushi. So that was why I left Ife. I was surprised and I was not surprised when she eventually left. Because I was privy to some information. So that's about that between the Olori and I. She's a highly intelligent woman.
How will you describe her really? Because I was going to ask her, is she that she's somebody that, how will you describe her as a person? Because a lot of people felt as maybe she was too afraid, especially with the presence of women like you around His Imperial Majesty, the KBC himself. And KBC being a very young man with a lot of money, a lot of affluence, a lot of charisma, goodwill.
She is, because she's still alive today. Very and highly intelligent, highly resourceful. She had her issues with women around KBC. I wasn't the only one. And one of the things I made her realize then was that, listen, there will always be women around KBC. Apart from the fact that he's young, he's a new king at that time, you just need to know how to manage the situation. You cannot drive everybody, you cannot fight everybody, you cannot accuse everybody. So like I said, I gave her some advice, very deep ones. And she gave me some gifts. She was so happy I advised her. Because according to her, things started working again. Because they had issues at the time. She wasn't managing the situation well. And KBC, being an extremely busy person, was all over the place, doing his work, attending the functions and events. She's one queen that shouldn't have left the palace.
Why did you say so?
From my own outsider observation, as an outsider, an insider at some point, an outsider, she was the kind of queen that could hold sway if she didn't allow her emotions, if she could control her emotions. She couldn't. And I want to say maybe lack of experience for the Yoruba culture and throne. Perhaps she didn't have good advisors as well. Because when I said I spent 4 hours talking to her, the things she said to me in confidence, and the things I told her, and the steps I told her to take, She humbly took them. And she told me she got results, good results. One of our accusations was the same thing you said earlier on about this. That I said that I had a magic wand that I was using to control Baba, and I laughed. So that how possible? You live with the Onirisha, you know him more than any one of us. How possible will I be using this to control a whole Onirisha? So there was nothing between us. I never dated him. I never had anything personal with him. Not even handshake. Other than maybe he put a hand on my shoulder in presence of everybody to acknowledge me, which he does to everyone. So it wasn't anything special.
How will you describe that experience as a cultural ambassador to the Onirisha, one of the most respected Kabiyesi in Yoruba land, and a respected office that has a lot of historical vestiges and the rest? You know, how did you rate that experience then? Because it's something far away from Ara, the musician, Ara, the public icon. You are just finding yourself in a palace and in a secluded environment.
It was an experience of a lifetime. I'm most grateful to His Imperial Majesty for appointing me. I learned a lot about our culture. I learned a lot about the Yoruba culture, Yoruba people, deeper things. Then the rare privilege of being in his presence, of learning directly from him, of being impacted directly by him, is something I would not trade for anything in the world. It was a rare privilege and honor. Yes.
If you're going to write a book about that experience, what is going to be the title of the book?
Ile-Ife, the land of the source.
Land of the source. Because you've traveled around, you've seen all lands, you've been to Ikogos, you've been to what they call Osun Osogbo, or you're everywhere, and now you find yourself in the source.
Yes, it was, especially to the Orishas. I learned a lot about the Orishas. I learned that we have been taught to hate who we are. We have been taught to demonize who we are. I learned that there is power in our culture, in our tradition. I learned that we should be proud of our cultural heritage. We should be proud of our ancestors who laid the foundation. I learned that we should teach our children more of history so that they don't forget who they are. There's so much that I learned while I was in Ile-Ife. I took a lot with me. I appreciated myself the more.
You appreciated yourself, you valued yourself the more.
Yes, I did. I was so proud. And then when this film came out, Black Panther, it was like I was reading. It was like the Ooni had the foreknowledge of what was about to happen in that movie, because there was one night where about 10, we sat with him till about 3 a.m. He was talking to us. It was impacting us. He was telling us how powerful we were, how we could control our destiny, our lives. It was in our hands. How we should, there is room for culture. There's room for religion, Esin, Asha, Ototoni. He taught us so many things. The day I watched that movie, as I was coming out of the cinema, I called him. I was screaming. A lot of people might just watch that movie on the surface and not understand it. If you understand it, you will be proud of who you are as a
color.
Your color.
Man of color.
A man of color, a black person. You will be.
That film Black Panther, I've not watched it really, but there's a lot of noise about it.
A lot of noise. You watch it, you might look at it as science fiction, as something, but you need to listen to the lines, to the dialogue. You need to understand what they are telling you. One of the most interesting scenes in that movie was the Sambisa aspect, the kidnapped Chibok girls. They kind of replayed it somehow in the movie, and they were like, you could actually pick the sound and talk to it, and something will happen there. Like you don't know what you have. You don't know your power. You know, you need to watch it. You can translate it into many things, but the bottom line is that be proud of who you are. We are powerful. We are extremely powerful people. We are the most powerful force in the world. Powerful race, sorry. Because love is the most powerful force. We are the most powerful race in the world.
Maybe that's why there's a lot of, what can I call it, challenge, a lot of intimidation and trying to subjugate, suppression and all that against the black man.
Yes, that's what is really happening. Because these people know who we are. They have identified us. Awala Amorawa. Awala Amorawa. And that is why we don't value each other. That is why we allow people to suppress us mentally with all kinds of things. And we believe it. We don't know who we are. We don't know how powerful we are. So that some set of people are trying to, manipulate us and suppress us. So you don't identify they tell you your strength is actually your weakness, but it's the other way around. That your weakness is actually your strength.